Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Got a huge one today. We're going to learn how to do The Spirit of Radio by Rush. So, we got to talk about the elephant in the room here. There is a lesson of Alex Lifeson teaching this on YouTube, almost in complete form. Alex is an amazing songwriter. He's a massive rock star, very influential guitar player. It's what he's really good at. The teaching in this video is pretty good too. I mean, gosh, look at my first YouTube videos and compared to his first foray into teaching on a video, he's much better than me. But there are parts of it, and I also want to talk about this, especially with the intro lick. You look up forums, conversations about this, how he's teaching this intro lick. It can be a little bit confusing. He leaves a couple things out when he's explaining it, but then when he performs it, he puts those things back in. And then there's little slight variations of how it was recorded, how he's teaching this lesson a quarter of a century after he recorded the song. So over the years, he might just play things a little bit differently. So we're gonna do this like the studio recording. So I'm gonna tell you, any confusion, I'm gonna kind of make sure that is done with, and I'm going to talk about it, especially with that intro lick, and there's a couple other parts too. But before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Truly support this channel by joining my Guitar Academy. That's the #1 way to do it. Please go check it out. You don't even have to sign up. Just go check it out. See what I got to offer over there. You're going to see a link in the description to give you 40% off my annual subscription rate. And you have that for life. All right, so it's a YouTube only link. You're not going to see that price on my website. You got to click that link. You also get a free 7-day trial. So even if you do sign up, you're still not on the hook for anything for a full week, and you get full access to everything. My courses, my live streams, you get personalized support from me, everything, even during the trial. So you can really see what it's all about. I've got a great community, and I want it to get bigger and help more people. And if you want these videos to continue as well, that's the best way to support it. So enough of that. Let's jump into the song. So now, obviously, I had a little bit of effect on here, and I'm not going to use it throughout the lesson, though. But there's a flanger on it at the beginning of the, and it's throughout the song. And I'm not a big dialing in tones and effects exactly like it. I'm just kind of showing you the notes, and you guys can go down that rabbit hole of tone. I don't do it. But anyway, so let's talk about this lick. We're in standard tuning here. And this thing, now when Alex teaches it on this video, he teaches it like this. It's basically like that. So he's teaching the left hand movements, right? And I think that's what he thought might make sense. So let's break this down first, right? And either he forgot to mention that there's a kind of a repeating open E string in there, or they edited it out. And I'm guessing they probably accidentally edited that part of the lesson out. And it's a huge part of the sound of the lick. I'm sure Alex didn't stop there. He's probably just breaking down the left-hand parts. Then the editor, who probably doesn't play guitar, accidentally edited out the very other essential part of the riff. So what the riff is actually going on. So we're gonna start here with this. We're gonna start with this second fret there on the high E string. Pull off to the open E, and then over to the 3rd fret on the B. So every time we're gonna do kind of there's a little lick, and then this kind of goes over, ends on the B string at the 3rd fret, and then it comes back and hits an open E. So that first lick is like this. So you gotta kind of alternate pick across the strings. And then we're gonna do the same thing again, except it's gonna be the note that we're gonna pull off is gonna be the 5th fret on the high E. And then pull off to the open string, and then once again to that 3rd fret on the B string, and then the open high E again. So this. So almost halfway through the lick. Hey, look at that. Now, this next part right here is where Alex does play it differently than it is on the original recording. So Alex, when he's teaching this on the video, and probably now throughout the years, he just plays it like this, just to undercomplicate it a little bit, I guess. It's a tricky lick to play up to speed over and over and over and over again. So anything you could do maybe to kind of like, okay, let's just make this a little bit easier. But people alter things throughout the years. But what he does is he teaches it, he plays it now, let's say that. Back to the same thing that we started it with, like this. So that same lick that we started with, that pull off from the second fret to the open, over to the third fret of the B, and then back to the open high E. So he plays it now, that's how he plays it in the video. Okay, it's not how it's performed on the recording. On the recording, he doesn't do this. He does this. He does 2 pull-offs. He pulls off from the second fret to the open high E, and then that third fret on the B string, he pulls off to the open B. So that looks like this now. Right here. And then we're gonna end it with this. So now that made sense that he pulls off to the B here, because he's kind of saving room to get up here and grab that. So yeah, you might hear the open strings high E still ringing in there. But we're gonna go up here to do this last lick here. We're gonna play the 4th fret, pull off to 2. So you're here on the high E string. Pull off to the open high E. And then end it the same way we did before. 3 on the B, then open a high E. So that last lick. So all together, the whole lick. And then you just repeat that a lot. So, sorry. So you can see why he kind of admitted that pull off to the open B string, because that's what's confusing to it. If it was just kind of, it's always going back to that open high E, it'd be a little bit easier. But when he first wrote it, I think he intentionally threw a little curveball in there. So that's what's on the recording, and it's repeated over and over again on the recording. So if you slow it down, you'll hear that open B. All right, so that's the main lick of the song, right? He plays that a lot. So what happens here in this intro, because it's weird to get the timing down, like when him and Neil kind of come together. So he plays this main lick. That's the complete lick there. He plays it 6 times at first, all right? So you play it 6 times, and then you play an abbreviated version of it just by going the first 2, that very first 2 licks of it. So basically the first half of it, we'll say. He plays that. So he does it 6 times, then he does just the first half of it, and then he repeats it 2 more times, the whole lick. And then once again, he's gonna just do the first half of it by itself. And that's it. So that whole intro, before he gets to that little descending line, is the full lick played 6 times, then just the first half of the lick played by itself, just without the ending, without the second half, and then the full lick 2 more times, and then that same kind of first half of it by itself. And then from right there, you jump into. So if you just keep going straight through and like not stopping anyway, and you line it up exactly like that, it's gonna line up with that timing of that little descending riff right on it when Neil does it. So now that little descending lick, it's gonna be 4-2-0 on the D string, over to 4 on the A, back to the open D, and then 4-2 on the A. And then we get to a very, very cool riff. So that riff is going to be played slightly different as he goes through the song. He starts adding a little bit to it, but anyway, so the first time you hear it though, it's an open E power chord, and then you hear mostly But like he points out in the video lesson as well too, he likes to have that note going on. So you hit that and then so he's kind of hearing that note stay there. That's not as apparent in the very beginning. It sounds more like. And then as he goes throughout the song, at the. You hear more of that top note being held in there, okay? So for this first time through it, you might just want to play the single note. So it's just 0, 2, 3, 4 on the low E string. So it's the E power chord to start. And then 2, 3, 4. Then over to the A power chord. And then 2 on the A, and then you're gonna play 3, hammer on 4. Over to 2 on the D string. Repeat that. All right, and then we have, after you do that riff 4 times, it goes into this E power chord played down here. There's a couple different ways he does this big E power chord. He'll be up here a lot of the song, but at this part, coming out of that riff, you're gonna start it here. Now you're gonna see this also in the bridge, but this chord is kind of just a fancy way of playing a big E power chord. It's the open E string, and you're barring the second fret across the A and the D. And then you're gonna play the 4th fret there on the G, then the open B, and open high E. And then we're gonna go up here to this, it's a B major chord, but you're gonna let the open B and the open high E ring. So that's going to create like a major add 11 chord, but it's basically 7th fret here on the, it's not a bar yet, just a 7th fret there on the low E, 9 on the A, 9 on the D, 8 on the G string, and then open B, open high E. So this. So after this chord, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna 9th fret here on the C sharp on the 9th fret, and you're gonna slide it down the low E string into this chord, which is the E major in first inversion. He plays this in a different way as well too. He'll play it like this some. I'll talk about that. He does like kind of like open and closed versions of the verse. So that's where this is like the closed version of that chord, but he does open version first. So I slid down here, that's the 4th fret now on the low E string, 2nd fret across the A and the D, and then the 4th fret there on the G, open B, open high E. Then we're gonna, up to this A major, just the bottom 4 strings here. It's just the same chord we did the 7th fret right here, the 5th. They play those da 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 da. It's just at the beginning they play the rhythm on that A. And then hit that B once. And then we get into really what's kind of like the verse riff, but they play it kind of instrumentally first and put this little tail on it. Looks like this. All right, so that's just gonna be this E power chord now played up here. So open E, 7th fret on the A, 9 on the D, 9 on the G. Open B, open high E string. So a lot of times when he plays this chord, he'll play it, and then hit the low E, and then high E, and then the B. And then he'll strum that B chord with the open. And then when he does that chord, he'll strum it. Sometimes he'll like the, he'll strum it, then he'll pick the G string, high E, then back to that G, or G, high E, and B. And then he's got that same, so I slide down. Now when you get to the A, he's gonna jump to the, it's a slide into the 4th fret on the A string, and then 2. So we have this all together for this little riff that really is that takes us into the verse. Looks like this. Now we're at verse number 1. So the verses are pretty long, and you'll notice that I'm playing the same chords, but I'll play them in slightly kind of open, ringy ways, and then more closed versions of them. So all within the verse. So the first verse looks like this. So it was like kind of an open version of it, then a closed version of it, and then a combination of the two. All right, so you played basically this main riff that we did before. Kind of open with the open version, meaning you don't end the open B and high E ring a lot in there. So we already did this. Well, hit that B, and then you start over. So we've already done this riff. You basically do it 3 times, just like that. Then after the 3rd time, you're gonna go grab that little lick again, sliding to the 4 on the A, then to the 2 on the A. So you're basically gonna do the open version of the verse 3 times, put that little tail on it, and then the closed version twice, which looks like this. All right, so that's gonna be kind of a full E major chord here. So we're gonna start with the open E, 7 on the A string, and then 9th fret across the D, G, and the B. So don't have to hit the high E. And then you can do that B chord again, but no open string. So it's a full bar now, just a regular B major chord. And then you're gonna take it down, and we're basically gonna do a close. This is a E with G sharp in the bass, but so is this. And you're gonna do this by a full bar at the 4th fret. And then in front of that, you'll play the 5th fret there on the B string, 6th fret on the D, and then the 7th fret there on the A. So you do that, and then up to this A bar chord, which is just like the B, but just at the 7th, so no open strings. Up to that B once, and then repeat. All right, so then after you're doing that closed version of the verse twice, so open 3 times, little tail. I don't know why I'm calling it a tail, but whatever. And then we have the verse, the closed version of it. And then we have it goes through those chords one more time to end the verse. The first 2 chords are played like the open version with the open high E and B. And then we go to the closed versions to end it out, and it's kind of more of a more driven 8th note downstrokes feel. So this is that full chord, that E with G sharp in the bass, the whole full chord, and then the A to the B. It's kind of a more driving sound there to end it. And then it ends with the open E. There's a pause there, and then he's back to. So he does that main riff now, incomplete. No, we're not gonna do half of it or here or there. It's just a full riff, complete 14 times. Good luck. All right, your hand's gonna be tired after this. From there, we're going to go back into verse, we're getting the verse, and then he reverses everything. He starts everything like as a closed version, so this closed version of the chord, and then he opens it up. So this was a little bit shorter though. So we basically start with, so verse 2 basically looks like this. All right, so a little bit shorter. So it's just that closed version riff done 4 times. No big deal. And then the open version just done once, and it's just the first 2 chords that are open. So that kind of does that half and half. So let's do have the open B and high E, but then we're gonna close it. Kind of like we did before, how we ended the first verse. All right, then it gets back to that main riff again. Played 12 times, all right? So, and then from there we jump to the bridge. All right, bridge section's got some really cool stuff in it. So let's go through that. Looks like this. All right, so then it goes into kind of the verse riff kind of played a couple times, but we'll talk about that in a second. So we start with that E power chord that is down here in the 2nd position. Once again, to remember that, because that happened way back in the beginning. We're going to do open, low E, 2nd on the A and the D, 4th on the G, open B, open high E. Bunch of E's and B's. So that rhythm he kind of starts taking across all these chord structures. So down, little down, up, down burst, and a couple hits after it. So that's the rhythm you kind of stick with throughout. And then we're going to take that now to a D. And he does on that D chord, it starts as a D major regular, and then he makes it a sus4 by playing the, take the pinky down on the 3rd fret, then on a high E string. Back to, so with this. And then back down to the D, so with this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take this D up to the 4th fret. Then you just kind of want to strum this, the top 3 strings. And it's kind of that same rhythm, but starts with the E. Then the sus4 by now adding that pinky once again up top. And then back to the D, and back to the sus. So we have this. And then we're going to do the same thing we did here. So you notice instead of going in here, did that top note first, then down, then back up to the top note. Then we're going to go back down to the D, but we're going to play it like the melody like we did up here. So, sus, D, into the sus. And so let's do this all together for the first half. And then we get to the 2nd half of the bridge, which we're going to come up here to this E power chord up here that we did earlier. Same rhythm. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to a D sus2 chord with A in the bass. So we're going to put the 5th in the bass. So all that is you're going to bar the 5th fret across all 6 strings, and then in front of that play the 7th fret there on the D and the 7th fret there on the G. Same rhythm, I'm sorry. Then take this chord, move it up 2 frets. And then back down to the 5th fret. So the whole bridge, one more time. And then we get to the verse riff again. We're gonna do this a couple of times, and it's the version of it where we have the first two chords are open, have that open B and high in it, high E strings there. And then the closed chords at the second half. So you do that twice. All right, then we're gonna, it gets a little crazy here. All right, so this is probably, well, I don't want to say repeating that opening lick is probably the hardest part of the song, but this part moves around really quick too. So this is gonna be, I'll just show you, there's this kind of descending lick that he does. Now also in the video, when he's going through this descending lick, he's playing it a little bit differently than it's on the original recording. I'm playing it like it was on there. He kind of starts a little. On the original recording, it starts different. Plus, he kind of does this thing at the end, which is not on the original recording. So I'm playing this not like he's playing it. He's teaching it in that video, because if you line up that in the original recording, it doesn't line up. So what I'm doing is what you're hearing on the actual recording. He's very close, but he's like 90% there. But he's obviously kind of decided to play it a little bit differently, a quarter of a century of playing it on stage, I guess. Like I said, we're going for studio versions here. But anyway, what I'm going to be doing here is playing the main riff twice, and then go into this crazy descending lick, and then into that thing. All right, so here we go. I can't believe they go to a reggae thing here. It's kind of funny. So anyway, so that main riff twice. Now right out of that, he's gonna jump up here and do that. So it's gonna be 7. You're gonna hold that note slightly. So that 7, and then it goes down to 5, 4. Over to 7 on the D string, back to 4 on the G. And then we're gonna go now 7, 5, 4 on the D string, over to 7 on the A, and back to 4 on the D. So kind of, so after we get that top note, it's kind of the same lick, kind of descending. Back to that 4th fret there on the D, and then come down 7, 5, 4 on the A, over to 5 on the low E. So we have this all together. Playing this up to speed really gets your alternate picking chops going. All right, and then we're gonna end it with the same thing, the lick that ended the intro. We did that at the end of the intro. That's 4, 2, 0 on the D, 4 on the A, back to the open D, and then 4, 2 on the A. So all together. So see how I pause on that note too? So as soon as you hit that second fret down on the A, you gotta jump over real quick and start that riff, that kind of riff we did before. So before, when we were playing it, we were letting that first note ring more. The second one, he adds an extra stroke in it. So down on the upbeat right before going into that too. So instead of going, and this, the same thing here. So he's kind of always adding to that riff when you hear it again, and when you hear the end of the song, he's going to add even more to it. Literally going to go, sounds like Slayer at the end, swear. Anyway, I'm just kidding. So we do that riff 4 times. Now we get to some reggae. Looks like this. So very cool. They keep going back to that really cool riff. Now the reggae section too. There's how he does it in his instructional video. It's pretty similar to what's on the recording, except the first chord. Sometimes he'll play this E either here, or he'll play it as a full bar at the 12th fret. Because you can hear that in a couple of the times that he plays the E. He doesn't really do it a specific order or anything. I think just, and now these days, I don't think he ever goes up here. He just kind of keeps it down here. But it's just kind of this little reggae feel on this E major chord we did in the verse, and the A and the B as well. So the first time you kind of go through those chords 3 times. And like I said, sometimes he's going to replace this chord. So you'll hear that, especially kind of the second time through the reggae section. But so you can, that first chord, kind of do whatever you want with it. I think that's what he's doing anyway. So you play that reggae thing 3 times through that E, A, and B, and then we're back into the. So you do that riff twice, and then we're back to the reggae thing again. This time we're just going to do the reggae chord progression, the E, A to B, twice instead of 3 times. And then boom, right into that 2 times. And then we get to the solo, yay. All right, so he uses a wah pedal on this, so I'm gonna kick in the wah here, and we're gonna go through it. And this is one of those solos too that, especially with all the wah and all that stuff going, you know, getting it note for note exactly like what he's doing. It's not really one of those solos like, you know, this little precision notes here and there. There's a little bit, there's a really nice melody that it starts with, but then when he really starts digging in, that's just kind of all it really is. And the wah pedal and all that stuff, and he has delays and all that stuff. It's kind of all over the place. But anything, when he plays it now, or how you're going to play it, it's always going to be an approximation. These types of solos are not really the things that you're going to get note for note, but he does play it pretty similarly though. So looks like this. All right, so that one's a lot of fun. So it's gonna start with this really, really cool melody. I gotta have delays back on for this melody. All right, so that's gonna be the whole step bend of the 15th fret there on the B string. Obviously there's a wah pedal with this, but pick it and release, then pick 12. And then a half step bend at the 14th fret. So. And then you're gonna hammer on 12 to 14 and then. And that's kind of a whole step bend and release with your index finger over to 14 on the G string with some heavy vibrato. All right, from there, you're just gonna go into this unison. You know, like say, which is just the 12th fret there on the high E string, and then the 15th on the B, and you're gonna be bending up that 15 to try to match that note while you're tremolo picking. obviously with the wah. And then, so this bend is just, you're bending the 15th fret, but you're grabbing both the string, the high E string and the B string together. And on the recording, he kind of just holds that bend and really kind of builds it up. His lesson, he says he's lately hitting like this. The kind of two middle strings and hit harmonics, but those aren't there on the recording. So I kind of think it's fun to just kind of let those bends just kind of really build up like there. And then he goes to this thing. So this right here, he's holding the 9th fret there on the D, and he's going kind of playing 6, slide into the 7 on the G. And he's doing that while he's tremolo picking those two. And then you're gonna do the same exact thing here, hold 14 on the D, and slide from 11 to 12 on the G. And then, so after you've done that slide like 4 times, he is gonna end the solo with a, and that little ending lick. It's kind of hard to hear all these little licks, right? Because of the wah and the delays and all that stuff. But what's going on is you're gonna play the 15th fret, pull off to 12 on the high E, over to 15 on the B, and then back to 12 on the high E. And you're gonna do that lick twice. And then you jump up here to the 17th fret down the B string and do a step and a half bend. So you want it to sound like that note, the 20th fret. And we are done with the solo. Now it goes to this ending section. I'll play through it real quick. There's some quick little maneuvers in here. And a little variation on that little jam riff, but looks like this. All right, so there's a lot of things going on there. So it's first that little jam. He just hit each note kind of a couple times now, so it's just like giving that straight 8 feeling. So it's kind of the same notes going on, the same little hammer on there, but it's the notes are kind of. And like I said, you get that top note in there if you want. So you do it 3 times like that. And then we're gonna do kind of a variation on it. Just gonna do like kind of. So we basically just have this E power chord, then 2, 3, hammer on 4, over to 2 on the A. So this. So remember, hitting that 2 twice, hammer on 3 and 4, over to 2 on the. So it's basically like what we did on that string, but it's just down here on the E. So E, and then do that again. And then once you get to that note the second time through, you're gonna jump over and do the main riff 1 time. And then it goes into that E power chord that we did before, down here in the second position, that big one. So you hit that once, kill it, and then hit it again, let it ring, and then one more hit. And that's it. So it's got a lot going on. It's a challenging track. I think Alex said it's actually one of the hardest ones for them to play. And because it's just that main lick over and over again, it can be really tiring. And it's just kind of hypnotic, but also it's kind of hard. You gotta do a lot of counting to make sure you come in at the right time. So it can be a challenge. And obviously there's some really quick stuff moving around besides that. So hope you guys are up for the challenge. All right, I'll see you again soon for guitarlessons365.com.